Hello and welcome everyone to season one of the B2B Pod. I have the pleasure today to host our guest Samah El Naggar. And our episode today is about the conversations through effective B2B marketing strategy.
Welcome to the B2B Pod by the Pulse of Dubai with your host, Radwa Hassan, a podcast that touches upon everything that's going on in and around the B2B industry. This show is brought to you by Logicron.
Samah is a senior digital journey leader with extensive expertise in marketing and digital business, spanning 20 plus years, covering both domestic and international markets. Her cross-functional leadership skills have allowed her to deliver on business objectives and exceed profitability targets and growth. At IBM, she led and guided the digital systems, smart business and security team to increase their digital presence in EMEA market across all online channels. She has accomplished cross-channel integration by mapping and connecting customers, finding new ways of working to engage with clients, breaking down siloed initiatives by giving them a unique, successful client digital experience, and creating a client-centric approach. Thank you, Samah, for your time and welcome to the B2B Pod. How are you doing?
I'm good, actually. Thank you, Radha, for the introduction. It's definitely my pleasure to be part of this interesting topic.
Thank you so much. And our topic today about the conversion in marketing and with a marketing campaign, although it's a classical problem, but I see that there is a lot of science that has come on board with marketing automation that has really helped us to understand in a deeper way best practices and new tools that could support us with improving our conversion rate in marketing. And namely, to your experience with the digital sales reps management and also with the digital marketing and how you're going to share with us all these amazing examples in this space. So if I may ask you and start with the first question, what have you seen from your experience? Where are the challenges with conversion in the different marketing campaigns, and also how you have seen you improved it through the different tactics?
I would say actually, for sure, the conversion, it's one of the key, I would say, struggles. We always face this kind of challenge, and one of the key elements that we were always thinking on how we should be improving the campaign performance in a consistent way, not like one hit and we disappear. We need to have the consistent way once to come to the outcome of whatever campaign that we are doing. I would say here, like one of the things that we were impacted negatively, the conversion at the beginning, it was the relationship that we had between the marketing and the digital sales at the beginning. I would give you like some sort of history on how things had been started in this kind of area. So the digital sales were actually operating in silos in different countries, and we were struggling with the real-time, I would say, communication and optimization as well. There is like some sort of struggling as well that happened on the collaboration. Also lack of trust from both parties that had been impacted negatively the conversion in this regards. Lack of knowledge that we were at that time, actually we did not share proper information about the campaign background. So the overall, I would say, picture of the customer journey we're missing through the digital sales. I'm stressing on this point because that's definitely, I would say, that mostly impacted us on the mid of the funnel once to come to the campaign performance in that regards. We were doing great on the top of the funnel where the customers were engaging with us on the different channels and things like that. But once to come to the lead and the conversion, in that case, that was the struggle. So what happened at that time, we were lucky, I would say, that the DDRs or the digital sales and the marketing were moved to the same location. So that helped us to better communicate and collaborate. Also, one of the elements, or I would say the key success that we had, that we involved the digital sales in the early stage marketing planning. So that's actually yield to an enhancement in the communication and also a better trust among all the team members. And actually, it gives them also the sense of belonging, sharing and aligning with them the marketing quarterly objective as one team help us to easily achieving both targets in that regards. We were keen actually to make sure that they are getting a full understanding of the campaign objective. What are the materials that the customers are reacting to it? What exactly the elements that the customers get the chance to see it before handing off the leads to them. So we give them like some sort of, I would say, customer journey overview to the digital sales to make sure that they are fully engaged correctly with the customers in this kind of stage.
That's certainly a very smart approach to that and a very useful tactics that you have applied there. So if we were to, for example, say from the conversions, how do you see the changes were made? I mean, continuity to that. How can you maintain after the changes this success?
It's continuous, I would say. We kept collaborating with them in a weekly, actually it was a daily as well, because we were sitting beside each other. So we had the chance to understand what exactly the challenges that they have. It's not matter of handing off the leads to them. We got the chance to understand what exactly they are going through, what are the challenges and the pain points, and trying to optimize based on their feedback in a real time with the agency, and trying to optimize I wouldn't say even the campaign, but per tactic, per channel as well. So when we had that, we properly involved them within the cycle of the customer journey. We were listening very carefully on what exactly complain, what their pain points and things like that. And that's actually helped us to build up some sort of trust between us, because they knew that whatever be given to us as a marketing, we will be able to go and optimize the campaign based on their feedback. If some sort of tactic we were testing and we were interested to implement, however, it was not working properly from the conversion perspective, this is where we were like on the spot trying to do some sort of correction action and making sure that we are on the right track. So here it's a combination of 360-degree approach, where we are tackling the customer throughout different channel and online, offline as well. So that's all in all, that's contributed positively to the conversion in that case.
Well, I'm really a fan of that trust aspect, because I also believe very much that if you cannot build trust, and I'm glad that you hit on the trust and gaining trust with this engagement with the digital sales and also how it impacts conversion. Would you have an example of maybe, as we come across working with the different teams, that you have maybe those who don't like to collaborate or would push back a lot? Do you have any tips around how to handle such situations if you have come across them?
I would say that we are one team, which is the main factor. We will not be able to reach our goal if we are not all working together on the same objective. For sure, if we want to go with the client-centric approach, then it's really important to have a 360 integrated view by involving them from the beginning, which is a key element here. Sharing the end-to-end client journey, which includes the materials, the tactic promoted, getting a consistent feedback from their end, and optimized based on this. Also, by involving them in the early stage, we nurture our client-centric approach and relationship. Instead of blaming and pointing fingers, we focus on the solution rather than the problem itself. Always be positive. Recognition and appreciation are a key elements as well. Their feedback is valuable to the extent that we might change the whole digital business approach. Can you imagine? Given their direct communication with the customers, connecting directly with the customers, helping us for spotting the pain points, which is huge reason for success due to the constant optimization. So whenever we have this kind of attitude where we are trying to find a solution, what exactly can be done from our side to enhance the communication, and we take it from there.
This show is brought to you by Logicron, a leading demand generation company, providing solutions and synchronizing all your B2B needs logically.
So if we go back again to the point on the conversion, how did you see the pandemic has impacted, whether negatively or positively, your campaigns, the performance of the digital marketing, the engagement also with the digital sales? Now we're over the pandemic, but as a learning and how you see the curve has changed, what was your experience?
At the beginning of the pandemic, I would say it was new for all of us. It was something that we are not familiar with. So the struggle was across all, not only for us, but we were at that time keen to build up some sort of, I would say, personal relationship with the customers, having empathy in this stage rather than pushing our products. That was not our aim at that time. So we were keen actually to send emails and trying to reach our customers through different channels by reassuring and reconfirming that this stage is like challenging for all of us, and let's keep in touch and things like that. So that was one of the key elements. We were not focusing at that time on how we should be closing the deal rather than the client itself. So we were having the client centricity approach at the pandemic module.
I'm glad you mentioned the client centricity approach, and that would bring me to ask you a couple of questions, because to be honest, I see that many companies talk about customer centricity, but really few follow through and execute on that really to a great extent. So my question would be that now you were saying you have shared emails, you've sent to customers emails. If we take this back to conversion, do you still see that email is one of the tactics that has a high conversion or even has a strong impact? It's being picked up by the clients?
Of course, email is important. However, once come to the client, a 360 multi-touch approach is needed. We should be always step ahead, knowing what their needs and behavior in real time, so we can take an immediate action where we can enhance our brand loyalty and continue to deliver the perfect client experience. Also, we should be having a prospecting and retargeting mindset approach as well, reaching them whenever and wherever based on their buyer stage. So email is definitely one of the tactics, but it's not like an absolute tactic. It should be combined with a multi-touch approach, as I have been mentioned before.
Yes, thank you, Samah, so much. And that brings me to a very key question here. If you are looking at the different platforms and the tactics, what would be the top, or if you are going to name a few best performing platforms or tactics when it comes to conversion? They have the highest conversion rate.
Same, I would say no single tactic. We cannot go with the silent approach. For example, paid organic search definitely is one of the key demand generation tactics that we are relying on. However, it should be combined as well with the content syndication, the social media platform, LinkedIn, Facebook as example, also offline like events or online also like the webcast, anything that it will help us to reach the customers properly throughout the buying journey.
But some perform better than the others. I mean, in one of our discussions, you were once saying that maybe Google search will perform better than other platforms, other tactics, because this also helps with the lessons learned behind every campaign or engagement or project that we execute on as marketeers. You take that learning and then you try to deploy the science behind it into future projects. So how did you find which one would be performing better that you would invest in more?
Google search definitely is, I consider Google search as, even though that we were doing like paid campaigns in Google search, but I count Google search as inbound, not as an outbound. Google are super keen on their customers and they will not be pushing whatever ad for the, even if you are paying or bidding, I would say, lots of money on specific keywords, you will not be ranked properly in the first 5, I would say, ranks, unless if it's in alignment with the client centricity approach. So Google is one of the key elements, one of the key tactics that we were relying on, but in collaboration and in integration with the existing tactics that we have. So whenever we had leads coming from Google search, we were trying to tackle them as a next step with follow-up emails, with retargeting them throughout a different channel as well, trying to integrate them with existing events that if we have webcast or online, offline, if there is something that is going on at that time as well, making sure that we are keeping the relationship with them in that regards, but in combination and in collaboration with the different tactics as well.
If I may ask you as to what would be the key takeaways if you're advising our audience and fellow marketeers on conversion and how to improve it and the different tactics that they need to deploy, 4 or 5 I mean, as many as you can mention, everybody would be happy to hear from you.
Well, I would say here that key takeouts, it's all about the customer's needs. Simple as is. Define the customer's pain points, coming up with the idea, creating mockups and testing design for a better customer experience. Also, it's really important to apply a cross-channel integration by mapping and connecting customers, finding new ways of working to engage with your client across the different channels, breaking down the silos initiative by giving them a unique, successful client digital experience and creating a client-centric approach. I would say also working as a one team, not in the silos, listening to each other's at the early stage, making sure to share the objective and target with your team and extended team so it become one target across all teams. Share with your digital sales the different persona and what are the customers are going through, the pain points as example, the struggles, the challenges, and how we are helping them to overcome these challenges. So whenever they pick up the phone and start the conversation, we know how to address them. It's really important also to re-emphasize that when we launch the campaign initially, you cannot tell if it will work or not. Once the data starts to accumulate, then we have a better idea as to the campaign performance and action steps is needed. Thus, applying the data-driven approach is a must. It's not an option. Always do A/B test across all tactics. And finally, I would say continuous feedback from all stakeholders is the key to optimize the approach accordingly.
Great. Thank you so much, Sana. My other question, you have managed a big region. So your experience spans across Middle East and Africa, all of it. If you were going to, for example, mention the top performing markets across this region where you found very high outcome, which markets would these be?
Yeah, I would say that this is a really hard question. However, before answering this, we have to ask ourselves first, did we have a strong ecosystem that we can rely on? Did we really define the customer's pain points? Did we successfully reach them throughout the different channels as I have been mentioned before? Did we apply a proper A/B test? Do we have a strong analytics tool that help us to understand the customer's behavior, the bottlenecks, things like this? Do we have a strong enablement that had been taken properly by the sellers? If we applied all these factors, that we can answer this question easily. However, to make it short for you, I would say that UAE for sure, KSA, Egypt, Turkey, some of the growth markets such as Kenya, Ghana as well.
Yes, certainly. And I thank you so much for your openness and for sharing that. This is very valuable insights. Because really, again, from my experience as well, the readiness of the market and also so many elements come together. You cannot really say that one factor impacts the performance in a given market. So it could be the industry, the brand, the customer readiness, the technology that supports all that really impacts how every project campaign or a product really performs in a given market. So Samah, thank you so much. This has been a very engaging and insightful conversation. Thank you for your time, and let's connect soon.
Yeah, thank you, Radwa, once more time for giving me this kind of opportunity to go through this kind of interesting topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Samah.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the B2B Pod by the Pulse of Dubai with your host, Radwa Hassan. This show was brought to you by Logicron. If you aren't already, make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Google, or Apple Podcasts. If you have any questions or suggestions, you can visit us on thepodcast.ae and follow us on social media at the B2B Pod. See you next time.